How old were you when you started cooking?
Probably 5. I don't remember not cooking.
Do you remember what you would make?
I remember making cookies and some cakes, so it was mostly like little kids. It was sort of sweet stuff based.
So you thought that you'd go to college and study music and become a musician. What was the fork in the road that sent you into cooking?
I did spend some time on the road. I got distracted from classical music by rock and roll, like a lot of musicians of my generation. So this is the late 60s, and all the cool people that I knew were playing rock and roll.
Absolutely.
And us classical nerds didn't get dates. We didn't go to parties. We were different.
Sam Hayward came around and played rock and roll. But he was married, and he realized that a musician's life on the road made it just about impossible to have a good life at home.
And so eventually, when I was 25, one of my music students, who was a hotel school student, came out to our house for his lesson one day in the middle of winter, and Jan and I were sitting around saying, wouldn't it be nice to chuck all this and go spend the summer on an island off the coast of Maine? The student came in and said, hey, you like to cook for a hobby? How'd you like to chuck all this and come spend the summer on an island off the coast of Maine?
The dream became reality. Hayward and his wife spent the next 2 summers and part of a third on Appledore Island off the coast of Kittery. He cooked for the students and staff at the Marine Laboratory there. It was his first job in a kitchen. He was 25 years old, 6 miles out to sea, no roads, no ferry service, no public amenities.
And that's how I fell in love with the Gulf of Maine and with cooking and with the daily routine of it, the pleasure I got from it, the sheer joy of being in that location here in Maine. And we decided I was going to, rather than go to a culinary school like so many of these folks have done, that I would go get some experience with some great chefs in New Orleans and then New York. And then we would move back to Maine permanently and begin to think about raising a family. And that's how it happened.
What was it about cooking that you found rewarding?
Like playing rock and roll and jazz, which I was really familiar with, there was an improvisational aspect to it that really caught me, that really grabbed me, and I still love being handed a basket of ingredients and figuring out how to put them together and what to do with them.
Why haven't you been on those cooking shows where they give you the basket of ingredients and say, okay, make something?
I don't think I have the sort of media savvy that would make that work, but I've done a few things, but it's not something that really appeals to me to be in front of the public quite that way. I'd rather be in the back of the house, playing with food.
In the 1970s, Hayward left the hotel kitchen where he was working in New York City to cook at several high-end restaurants in Maine. Eventually, he became the head chef at a restaurant in Brunswick called 22 Lincoln. He bought the place in 1981 and turned it into one of the most acclaimed restaurants in the state.
People still come to me and say, I remember 22 Lincoln, and they'll send me menus from all that. This was 81 to 91 we had it, and people still send me an occasional menu and say, this was our 25th anniversary dinner that you prepared for us, and it's really flattering.
Before the term farm to table got popular and widely known, that was really the kind of cooking that you were doing, or at least trying to do, much of the time.
Back in 1981, when I purchased 22 Lincoln, a local farmer from Lisbon, Maine, who still serves us here, showed up at the back door with this amazing basket of produce. He just literally knocked on the back door. But Frank was bringing these leeks that were blanched 1.5 feet long, amazing carrots, and what really got to me were the herbs that had just come out of his garden in Lisbon, and he brought amazing produce that became sort of the backbone, the palette of flavors, if you will, that we used in many, many of our preparations. And I think that's what really started me on the road. And then other farmers followed.
In 1996, Hayward and his business partner, Dana Street, opened a restaurant in Portland called Fore Street. Reviewers loved it. Gourmet magazine twice named it one of the top 50 restaurants in the U.S. In the summer, Fore Street is so popular that reservations often have to be made weeks in advance. In addition, Hayward became the first chef working in Maine to receive a prestigious James Beard Award for Best Chef in the Northeast.
Because you've been doing this for a while, you've seen how Maine's restaurant scene has changed dramatically in the last 40 plus years. To your eye, what is the biggest change? What's the biggest difference?
I would say local food as a basis for a menu. It's almost difficult to imagine an ambitious restaurant in the state of Maine anywhere opening without at least, I don't know, making a bow to local foods.
Along the way, you have been really Maine's most prominent ambassador, I think it's fair to say, for the whole farm-to-table approach to food, but also in a larger way, just for great restaurants in Maine. You're kind of the poster boy.
Well, that's kind. I think there's so much talent in Maine that I don't think any one person can accept that burden, if you will. That's a lot to carry. There's so many great people here.
One last note. Every summer, Hayward returns to Appledore Island to teach and cook for one special weekend that's open to the public. It is, he says simply, the highlight of his year.